Welcome to Parish and Community. My special guest today is Dick Fleming, who is a parishioner and also the new leader of our Financial Development Commission. So thank you for joining me today, Dick.
Angela, delighted to be with you.
Now, for those who don't know you, I wanted to start with some little biographical sketch. I understand you're not originally from St. Louis, so what brought you here?
Was recruited here in '94 to be the CEO of the St. Louis Regional Chamber and Growth Association, the RCGA, having done similar work for 14 years in Denver and Atlanta before that, but my roots are in Baltimore.
How are you liking St. Louis?
We love St. Louis. Our two daughters were 3 and 7 when we moved here in '94. And both were married in the past 6 months. So they grew up here in St. Louis.
Cool. So what brought you then to College Church?
Well, we located in the Central West End, and candidly, we found the cathedral a little more formal than we had been used to in our parish in Denver. And several people recommended College Church. And of course, I had done my undergraduate studies at Loyola College, now Loyola University in Baltimore, and very fond of the Jesuits. So we, over probably 20 years ago, we began becoming parishioners at College Church, and have very much enjoyed it.
Great. And now you've stepped into yet more roles in the church community because you've been part of the pastoral council, and now you're taking leadership with the development commission. So tell me a bit about what inspired you to come into that and what your vision for your work is going to be.
Well, I was fascinated by the governance evolution that is taking place not only at our parish, but at many parishes in terms of the new model for leadership in parishes, and had heard about it and read about it and your communications in the bulletin and elsewhere. And heard more about it when you and I happened to meet on another subject early this year with your community development background and similar background that I've had in Denver and Atlanta and here, an interest in neighborhood development and community development. Became really fascinated about it, and have known Tom Gunn for some time. He and his wife, when we used to be live before the pandemic, we sit front and back of one another at 8 a.m. So all of that came together, and when I had the discussions with Katie and with Father about the pastoral council, I was delighted to join. And there was an evolution taking place in terms of the leadership of the Development Commission. Michael Eagleston had done a terrific job in his leadership in that role, and was invited to do it. My background, albeit in a different sector in Atlanta and Denver and in St. Louis, on the resource development front of a nonprofit, perhaps is a bit of a parallel to some of the things that College Church has done and may do in the future in terms of meeting the ongoing resource needs for the institution. So just getting into it and looking forward to working with you, because I know your role is in the leadership of the development function as well as parish life. So I'm very enthusiastic about what we're about to embark upon.
We are too. This is, as you kind of alluded to, it's a bit of your day job as well in your current role, right?
Yeah, I've having spent, I was CEO of the regional chamber for 18 years, and that involved raising resources every year to sustain the institution. And when I stepped down from that in 2012 to become CEO of the firm that I currently head, Community Development Ventures, among its roles is advisory services, not only in the community and economic development and entrepreneurial development arena, but also resource development. And I partnered with a firm to assist Launch Code when they were raising their initial resources as a new nonprofit. So I hopefully those experiences will be helpful to our council and to the effort at College Church in resource development.
Certain it shall be. So let's talk a little bit about your faith journey. Are there particular moments that have stuck out for you for that from your time as a Catholic?
Yeah, as I said, grew up in Baltimore. Was very active in the traditional roles as altar boy and lector, and was come from a Irish Catholic family. My mother was one of 13. My father was not Catholic, but he was one of 6, and I'm an only child. So in the process of college, I would say the real strong impacts were with the Jesuits and with my undergraduate experience at Loyola. And 2 of my professors, when you go to, I don't know if this is still the case with Jesuit universities, but when you go to a Jesuit university back then, whatever you majored in, you also majored in philosophy because you took as many courses in philosophy as you took in your major. And at that time, 2 of my professors, one being a Jesuit, the other being a lay professor, Father Francis Winters was the Jesuit, and Stephen McNierney was professor. They were uniquely focused in the works of Pierre de Chardin, and the whole issue of evolution of man and how paleontology and back at that time, I guess in the Jesuit tradition, there were some in Rome who didn't care for Desjardins. Happily, the current Pope and Pope Benedict really hold him up as an example of a very thoughtful philosopher in terms of what his specialty was. So I would say working with Father Winters and with Steve McNierney, sadly, I just in advance of our discussion, I was checking on the status of them and learned that Father Winters had just passed away from COVID a couple of months ago, and Steve McNierney had passed away as a young man a number of years ago. But they influenced my spiritual journey in terms of focusing, I would say, more rigorously on my role as a Catholic, and certainly my appreciation of Jesuits. So I kind of think back and would put a punctuation point on that period of my education.
Yeah, it's clear in the number of interviews that I've done so far just how much of an impact Jesuit education has had. And a number of people who have told me that they've been schooled almost exclusively by Jesuits is a pretty high number.
Yeah.
So outside of Desjardins, are there particular holy men and women that have inspired you in your faith journey?
Well, I have, I pray to some traditional saints. One of the non-traditional saints that I pray to is Saint Januarius, because as an avid baseball fan growing up in Baltimore and living on the Baltimore Orioles, he is, I think, the patron saint of hopeless cases. And there was a period in time when the Orioles were considered hopeless cases, and I started praying to him to get the Orioles to a point where they could hold their own against the Yankees, and that precipitated a run. One year the Orioles had 4 20-game winners, which I don't think has ever happened before in baseball. So St. Januaris, I'm working on him right now in the Cardinals. I don't know if he's predisposed to that. He may be a Cincinnati or a Milwaukee fan, but he's probably one of the more obscure saints that people don't necessarily think of.
Oh, that's great. Well, you've given us a bit of education in the saints as well today. Dick, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, and thank you for the good work that you and your colleagues do at College Church.
Thank you.